Well, as always, thanks for joining me. Today we are going to be talking about filming with a cell phone, specifically the Joby Panhead. So a couple years ago I filmed a couple of hunts with my cell phone just because it was what I had and I felt it was filming better than some of the other cameras that I'd owned. And recently that seems to have caught on to everybody else. But I've been saying it for a couple of years. So this is the Joby Fluid Panhead. I've reviewed this a couple other times. I did a review and then I had to do a kind of a rebuttal review of it. It's a nice little panhead with one flaw. The biggest flaw is this piece right here. This piece right here is what is used to tilt and turn the panhead. The problem is they made this out of some cheap plastic and very thin plastic, and it ends up cracking. And there is no good way to fix that. Epoxying it isn't going to help you. It's just going to snap somewhere else at some point. So today I'm going to do kind of a quick tutorial on what I'm doing to repair it and hopefully give you some ideas that might help you be able to do this. There are a few tools you're going to need, and if you have access to those tools, I think this is going to be a great fix for a great panhead. Instead of having to have a whole other panhead with a mount for your cell phone, you can use this single panhead. So stick around, we'll go over those. So what you're going to need to do is there is a cap on the end here. You're going to need to pop that cap off, and then there is a Phillips screw in there. I'm going to take that screw out. And then once you do that, there's a screw and a spring there, and that removes this handle. Now, hopefully you'll be able to see inside this handle. It has got some teeth in there, and that is what grips onto here. There are teeth on here. So here's what we're going to need to do. First off, you're going to get yourself a piece of 1/2 inch steel. You're going to need to go to your local hardware store, or if you have access to it, some 1/2 inch diameter steel. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to drill a hole all the way through. I drilled a pilot hole with a 1/4 inch, and then I followed that up with a 5/16 hole. So you're going to need those 2 drill bits, and you're going to need to get that fairly close to on center, which may be a little tough, but you're going to need to be able to do that. So drill yourself a 5/16 hole all the way through, and what that does is that allows us to slide this all the way down onto our teeth there. So then I got a Sharpie and a ruler and just kind of drew some lines straight across, and then another set of lines 90 degree to that, and then another set here for a total of 8 notches. And then with my Dremel tool, I got a small cutoff wheel and then cut those notches to where it looked like this. And it takes a little bit of doing, but basically you can use this as a comparison, and you're going to basically cut these so that it kind of matches that look. And it took a little bit of fine-tuning, and it's still very tight, but I'd rather it be tight than loose. So like I said before, I'm going to basically, this is not going to be movable when I get done with it. So it's going to go on here, and basically I got it to where it'll go, and it takes a good push, nice tight press to push that on there. Then the next thing that I did is I drilled and tapped a hole right here, 1/4 20. And then what we're going to use for our handle is just a piece of 1/4 20 threaded rod, about 6 inches long. And what that's going to do is we're just going to thread into that hole a couple of turns. I forgot, we're also going to have a 1/4 20 jam nut on there. So that we will thread that on and then tighten that nut up so that that handle's not going to go anywhere. And then we will push this onto here. And basically what I did was I test fit this thing. I'm going to get it to right where I want it and then kind of lock it down. And this is going to give me all steel construction and make this thing super solid. And then the last thing that I needed to do, this thing it came with a stock kind of plastic screw. And what I did was I ended up getting I think it's a number 6 machine screw. And I tapped this hole out, just ran a quick tap into there so that I can use this bolt. And that threads in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my handle on, tighten down, and then add our bolt and tighten this bolt down. And that's going to keep this handle from moving at all. And I think that's going to be really rock solid when I'm all said and done with that. Alright, so we've got our chunk of heat shrink tubing. And then we're going to just thread this in. And then we're going to tighten up our nut. And there we have it. There is our fix. This thing is, I wouldn't say bulletproof, but it's pretty solid now. And I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Alright, so here we have it. It's the Jeremy Rig modified Joby pan head. So this thing is pretty sweet. Like I said, it's all metal. You can loosen this knob here and turn your camera so you can have it vertical or horizontal. When you're filming, let's face it, people, horizontal please. No one wants to see your vertical films unless you're on the Tic Tac. So loosen that thing up, clamp this thing down on your cell phone. Now you can pan up and down, left and right, really easy. Leave it where it's at without any worries of this thing folding over. Make sure your knob is tight enough. But now with this all metal construction, you have no problem tilting this thing. Although, like I said, this thing is not perfect. Tighten that knob down enough that you can tilt this thing wherever you need it to be. Oop, sorry, that's just this tripod moving. Up and down movements are definitely a little bit tougher on this thing than the left and right. But like I said, this thing overall, nice little pan head. If the next thing we can do is if we can just get somebody to make a remote to plug into your cell phone and run back here for zooming and starting and stopping recording would be sweet. But sweet little pan head now that it's fixed. If you bought one of these Joby pan heads, hopefully you found this video informative. Maybe you've got some ideas on how you can make this head work for you again. But if not, there's a couple other pan heads that I think are really good budget ones. One of them being the new Small Rig CH10. This thing is fairly small, little fluid pan head, and I think if you aren't going to be able to make that Joby work, you can get one of these and have a phone attachment, and that's going to work really well for you. So if you're interested in that, click on that video right up over here. And also, if you consider subscribing, that should be right up over here. And we'll see you next time.